Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, yes, we will talk about debt sustainability, but if we could just go through some of the comments coming through from the DMO, where she said, look, most of Nigeria's borrowing, in fact, she said from her comments here, she did say that our borrowing is targeted at infrastructural development. And without borrowing, there's no way that they can fund the budget. But she goes on to say, that the strategy is such that we shouldn't be focused on the debt to GDP, and that they just want their strategy is targeted such that we do not crowd the private sector. That is the strategy that the DMO is explaining how we're proceeding with our borrowing and our budgeting system. Is that a bad strategy?
Was this DMO or what Professor said?
No, this is from DMO, but if you want to respond to this.
Well, if you look at what Professor said in Abuja, it shows clearly where I stand that your debt is to your revenue, not to your GDP. It's never happened anywhere. In a more advanced, developed economies, you cannot do that because the more advanced, developed economies, you build your infrastructure, your education, investment, everything, just like what is happening in Japan. You can say, okay, Japan debt to GDP is high. Fine. But look at what Japan has in treasury bills in American dollars. Look at their development. Look at what they're borrowing for. Prof, yes, disagrees with me that most of he says major part of the borrowing is for infrastructure. Which infrastructure? Thailand, or let me use Pakistan, borrowed $10 billion specifically for power. And today, they're generating over 12,000 megawatts. Let us know, what are we borrowing for? You should know what we are borrowing for. We cannot just say, oh, we're borrowing $10 billion for infrastructure. It's amorphous. Let us know what we are borrowing for.
But the figures released yesterday by the NBS, while they were talking about the growth in the non-oil sector, which was led largely by the transport sector as a result of the investment in that sector. Isn't that something to count for something?
And construction or anything. Mm-hmm. Let me be honest with you. I don't want to go with this quarterly GDP because if I make comments on it, it might not be encouraging. I want us to look at where we're coming from. There's something Prof said that is important. You look at the growth of your population and your GDP growth, and you could see, if you compare us with countries, I don't want to compare us with, say, China. People will say, oh, I look at China always. But if you look at, say, Thailand, in 1980, when our poverty was just 4 million, theirs was about the same number. The GDP then was about a third of ours. A third of ours. Per capita, which is what you used to measure then, their own was about $600. Ours was $870, 1980. Today, Thailand is $6,000 and we're 2,000. There's a growth of 1,000%. Ours is 200 and something. In China, the case is a mess.
So those are investments that they've done over time.
Over time, they have been focused on growing the economy. They've been focused on taking their people out of poverty.
So, which is what we haven't been able to do over time. So doesn't that mean that the government is correct then when they say, look, what they met on ground, poor infrastructure, inadequate investments, which is what they're trying to shore up with some of the strategies that...
Whenever people talk about what they met on ground, I have searched. For me, is a non-issue.
How?
These are things we take into consideration when we hired you as CEO. So it's assumed. It's only in Nigeria that people are looking for election and say, the country is bankrupt, the state is bankrupt, the state is owing debt, the this. And when they come in, they say, what we met on ground. What were you assuming your numbers when you were promising us you're going to make $1 1-to-1. What were you using when you said you're going to bring down the fuel price to 40? It is assumed that yes, we agree that this company was losing money. That's why we hired you as a new CEO. Because countries are run like corporations. We hired you because we believe that maybe the last CEO wasn't living up to our expectation. And then this has gotten worse. So instead of reducing the number of poor people, they've increased for over 10 million. Instead of reducing, all indices has gone negative. Employment, everything, businesses are losing more money and everything.
But you took time to achieve the results you got while you were in Anambra State.
Which result from, go and ask anybody from day one. I keep saying, can take it one after the other. In terms of road construction, which is most critical, we want to check anybody, how many roads that were commissioned within the first few years. You can go on and see what we did in education, what we did in health. We are not expecting 100% result. We're expecting 100% effort. What is happening in Nigeria today is that we have abandoned governance to politics.
Okay, we'll come back and look at education in a minute, but Ajuri has got a question as well. Go ahead.
Yes, Your Excellency, my hope for us this morning, for our viewers, is that they'll be able to watch a conversation that is really being discussed through the lens of the national interest and not through the lens of political interest. When you say that it doesn't matter where we came from, you're talking about Thailand, you're talking about some of these other countries that built their countries over 40 and 50-year development plans consistently. And you're talking about a situation in which 2015, our currency is plummeting. Our buffer, our foreign reserves are approximately $28 billion. Anybody who knows global economics knows that that cannot support a falling currency in a mono economy. You have all of these things going on, very little investment of infrastructure over the last 30 years. These are realities, little diversification of the economy over the last 30 years. How can you say with a straight face that it does not matter what happened before now?
I didn't say it does not matter what happened before now. I said this is what we put in consideration when we hired you. Whether it's a local government chairman, whether it's a state governor, or at the national level. When you were campaigning, you're saying, oh, things are this, if I'm elected, I'm going to do this, do this, do this, do this. This is my focus. And then you come into office, and those, call it promises on which we hired you, is heading south. And you're saying, oh, it doesn't matter. I said here, I'm not talking about politics. We should concentrate on those things on which you're hired. If you're talking about our economy, there are things that should be worrying us. This year alone, our stock market have lost over 2 trillion. That's about $7 billion in 1 year. It should worry us. For a capital market that is very small, our capital market today is only about $40-something billion. So it's lost almost 20% of its value. It's not worrying us. When the second biggest economy in Africa, South Africa, their capital market is $950 billion, almost $1 trillion. And they've not entertained that type of loss. And you go on and on. So these are things that should worry us. I'm not saying, oh, things were very good. I said, yes, this station was not working when you guys were hired. But it got worse. And if it got worse, we want to see a clear roadmap on coming out of it. Between 2000 and year 2015, China pulled 430-something million out of poverty. We push more people into poverty. So where is the clear roadmap that we're coming out of it?